So a quick story for you. 11 years ago, I was in the middle of a crisis. I had written a handful of these weird historical essays, but my reason for making them, to create a cool PDF to give to email subscribers, had started to really sound like a bad idea. Fast forward a couple of months and I figured out what to do with them. I made a podcast. So if you've enjoyed lore over the last decade or so, that's where it all started. Me, at home, writing little essays about weird and creepy moments on the historical record. And obviously, things grew from there, and the fact that I'm still making the show today continues to blow my mind. I am a lucky guy for sure. But back to those original essays for a moment. The very first one I wrote was also the one that I picked for the first episode of Lore. It was the one that grabbed my attention the tightest, and it had me asking all sorts of questions. And if you've been with the show long enough, then you know which one I'm talking about. The story of Mercy Brown. Allow me a second to give the uninitiated among us a quick overview of her story. Mercy Brown was a teenage girl from a small Rhode Island farming community who died in 1892. But she was the third member of her family to die from the same illness. And her brother was also sick at the same time. So people were starting to get a bit desperate. And desperate people, as we all know, tend to do some pretty weird things. In Mercy's case, that meant the townsfolk had begun to wonder if something more supernatural might be at work. One of the dead Browns, either Mercy, her mother, or her older sister, might be feeding on the living from their grave, and they believed evidence of this would be found if they exhumed all the bodies and checked them. So they did. And when Mercy's corpse turned out to have the signs they were looking for, they burned her heart to break the curse. Now, I have loved folklore and superstition my entire life. I revel in weird things. But this story, this real-world true-life event, I just couldn't let it go. Partly because it's just a thrilling story on its own, right? But mostly because it got my mental gears spinning. Why? Why in the world would people think that this sort of action, this sort of ritual, was acceptable and would work? In the decades since I published the first episode of Lore about Mercy Brown, I have never stopped thinking about it. And as I've encountered new topics for new episodes over the years, as part of an ongoing podcast about weird history, I have noticed that some of them are actually connected, that they contribute in big and small ways to Mercy's story. So, about 2 years ago, I started writing a book. I wanted to explore something that, as far as I could tell, no one had tried to piece together before. And that is, yes, Mercy's story and the events of 1892 are shocking. But why did they happen in the first place? What folklore, social norms, scientific beliefs, and cultural trends contributed to the actions of that small Rhode Island farming community? The book is called Exhumed, and I am so excited to reveal its cover today and announce that it is ready for pre-order. It arrives on shelves on August 4th, but every single pre-order between now and then will give Exhumed a chance to be a bestseller. And it should be, right? Because it is wild, strange, and incredible history. It's written in a way that should be easy for anyone, even non-historians, to pick up and enjoy. And it takes a story that a lot of people think they know, and it unpacks it in a new way, giving it a lot more depth and texture than a simple retelling of her exhumation. This is a journey I want you to go on with me. Exhumed will be available in a gorgeous hardcover, as well as ebook and audiobook, narrated, of course, by me. To pre-order your copy today, head to the link below on the screen or in the description, aaronmahnke.com/exhumed. And thank you. Thank you for letting me dig and dig for a decade so that I could unearth these answers, these stories, and these connections. I'm incredibly proud of this book, and I can't wait for you to experience it for yourselves. And it goes without saying, I think you're going to dig it. Peace.